Yeah. All right. I got 7:02 a.m. or for those of you back east, 10:02 a.m. And so Archangel Michael, I will tell a little bit about myself and my history of being a channel, being an instrument for the angels. But he requested that we begin this and that we start this at the exact time of the solstice. And so happy solstice to everyone around the world. It is right now, according to the time and date in a couple of other places that I checked out astronomically, the exact time. So this is the start time that he wanted us to have. I'm Reverend Anna Jones, and so welcome. For those of you who are new to my work, I invite you to go back to the website where you signed up for this, which is Anna, A-N-A, Jones, online.com, annajonesonline.com. And listen to more about me through the video that is on the homepage of my website, where I tell a much longer version of my story and my history and my work, and an interview that I did for the Mystic Summit with the Shift Network. And you can learn more about me, because I'm not going to speak too much about myself, but because there are new people joining for the first time, I'll do a brief introduction here, as brief as I can, and still be able to kind of cover what needs to be covered. Also, I invite you all to everyone, whether you're new or not, to go back onto the website and to look at the Celestial Voice podcast. You'll click on podcast up in the main navigation menu, and it's currently the only podcast that I'm producing at the moment. And all of the episodes on there are messages from Archangel Michael that have come through this year, last like 5 years, and definitely some things from my archives that are even older. I've been producing these messages, these podcasts for several years now, but there's even more messages that I have in my archives that I hope to be able to share through the Celestial Voice podcast. Every one of them is still got something that's timeless in it, so you can always just fast forward through the introduction and hear the timeless guidance, the timeless wisdom that Archangel Michael shares with us. And sometimes I find it very appropriate to refer back, right? To refer back. In fact, in my questions today, one of the things that I wanted to ask was about previous messages on previous solstices, winter solstices, especially, and if there's still a continuation of some of the things that he's talked about on previous winter solstices. The first messages that you're going to see on the Celestial Voice podcast are all the most recent. The ones from this year, there's 7 that go from like most recent down. And the series that I was doing of monthly global transmissions, it completed, I believe it was in September or October when it completed. And I'm not doing a new monthly series at the moment until I get information to do so. I do these at the request. I get a clairvoyant or clairaudient or dream. I either get a clairvoyant, clairaudient communication, or I get a dream. I get some kind of direct message as to when he wants, and then also what he's asking for. So that's another reason why I know it's Archangel Michael that's coming through tonight, because his request is how I set these up. But as far as the podcast, you'll go back through. There's other solstices, equinoxes, a lot of these global transmissions over the years. He's asked for them to be at times of powerful sacred natural time alignments, and like we're experiencing right now, right this moment, right, where the sun and the earth are aligning with each other. The winter solstice is special, right? All of the solstices and the equinoxes, they are alignment with the sun and the earth in a certain way that the sun and the earth are aligning with each other to create what we experience as the seasons, right? We experience those energies that come through those alignments as the seasons and the changes and transformations that's happening. And it's just now starting to get just a little bit of early dawn light here out my window, which is why I'm looking at it. Out my window is starting to get just a little bit of light after being dark for a very, very long time here. So yeah, so this we experience these changes with the solstices and the equinoxes due to these alignments and these energies as the seasons, and the time, the natural time. Of the cosmological time or the astronomical time is really what our bodies run on, right? It's really, it's almost like the biorhythms, the body's rhythms, the DNA memory, all of it runs on the natural time, the rhythms of the natural world. But our man-made calendar system is not set up primarily that way. There may be some things with the sun and the 365 days and that type of thing, but there's a lot in it that isn't aligned. So it's a very good thing to reset, so to speak, at this time of the year by just even honoring this alignment. So I honor those of you who are participating live. It's always a special thing. This message will be podcast up on the Celestial Voice podcast. And once it's up on the Celestial Voice podcast, we'll email out a notice to all of you and let you know that it's ready and that it's available. In addition to being on my website, the Celestial Voice podcast is also available on iTunes, where you can subscribe to it and it'll kind of immediately notify you or send you a notification. I believe it's also called Apple Podcast these days. Where else is it available? Oh, and just recently, this year, I began putting them also up on the Celestial Voice podcast page on YouTube, right? So it's got its own channel on YouTube, specifically separate from my own personal Reverend Anna Jones channel. If you put in Celestial Voice podcast with Anna Jones in YouTube, you'll be able to find it there. But due to the fact that it takes time for us to process them, but also due to the holiday, it may not appear up there for usually 5 to 7 business days, is what we tell people. But of course, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, I definitely won't be having any business on those days. So I'll get it up as soon as I possibly can, and I'll send out an email to all of you once it is up. And because of the holidays and other things going on with storms and et cetera, because there's lots of big shifting, changing energy going on. It's not just the shifting, changing of the seasons that's also happening. That energy brings big shifts and changes to us. So again, those energies may impact the timing of how quickly the podcast gets up, but I'll attempt to get it up as soon as possible. But regardless, this wisdom is that he always shares. There's always something that he shares. It's like it may take years or even like the rest of our lives to be able to learn how to like really integrate it or master it or something along that line. So, but I promise to say a little bit about the solstice. And then I'm going to jump into the questions that I have. And I'll tell a little bit about myself as I kind of go through the whole thing. But I'm not, again, going to say too much about my background today. I invite you to also read the bio page of my website and also visit when you're on the website, visit the holiday section where there's all kinds of there's a free gift for you, a free download actually for all of you on a class that I taught and also a channeling that I gave on the subject of co-creating with Archangel Michael. So that's the one that's the free gift for everybody. So make sure you take advantage of that if you haven't done so already. By downloading that for yourself. It's I think maybe a 2-hour, 3-hour maybe recording of a class about who Archangel Michael is and what he's historically represented around the world in multiple traditions, not just one tradition. Because let's remember that the angels and very powerful, amazing angels and archangels like Archangel Michael, they precede all of the world's religions, right? So it's not just a one particular focus. I'm an interfaith minister, and so my background is in world religions, and my background is in working with people of all different faiths and even no faiths, right? So that class is to present Archangel Michael in this way that he has asked me to do so, and that is to look at the universal aspects and the things that we kind of know historically about him, not just from one angle of vision or from one ideology or belief system, but to look at more of a whole or a holistic aspect of who he is. And then that download that you can download for that particular class is what's really unique about it. It's unique that I'm looking at it from this kind of broader perspective, but what's really unique about it is then I give him the opportunity through the same process that we're going to be doing tonight. I'm sorry, I'm used to doing this in the evening time and it's still dark outside. This morning, and I'm still waking up, through the same process that we're doing today, I give him the opportunity to speak about himself and give him the opportunity to share with us in that message anything that he wanted us to know about co-creating with him, about who he is and how to co-create with him. So it's a really special message that's included in that class. And again, that's for free as a download up on the holiday section of my website, along with many other things that you'll find on there for special holiday offers that I only offer one time a year. Because even though this is the global transmission and I offer these publicly, I also do this work privately. And that's how it all began for me. It really began at a very young age when I was 14 and I was doing laying on of hands healing in a very small youth group that became over the years much larger as time went on. And it was something that just kind of started happening to me. Wasn't something that I was seeking, wasn't something that I was well, I was asking to be used as an instrument. There's no doubt about that. In those healing sessions, that spiritual healing work, definitely praying, asking to be, used as an instrument, and that's when I began receiving information from the angels, like messages from them, and asking me to deliver it to other people. And at first, it just started out as like a word or a sentence or a phrase, or if anything, at of length, like maybe the lengthiest would be like maybe a paragraph or something. And it has evolved with their guidance over the last 40 something years, 44 years now to this day, right? And it doesn't mean that I've started doing it professionally right away, right? It wasn't until 1990 that I started doing this work professionally. And it wasn't really until the early 1990s that I knew Archangel Michael. It was kind of identified. He revealed himself as being one of the ones that was actually giving me some of these messages. But the way my particular gift and ability works is it's also whoever the angels are that's working with that person. So whether I'm doing a healing session in person or at a distance, or whether or not I'm doing what's called an angel and spirit guide channeling or an angel and spirit guide reading. It's whoever's working with that person. So it was always very individualized, and all different types of angels, guides, and guardians have come through with messages for thousands, actually thousands and thousands of people since then. But this connection with Archangel Michael got really strong in the early 1990s when he came through and really revealed himself, all kinds of visuals and things like that I experienced. And I've told some of that story when I've told some of the story about Lake Louise, and yeah, so I'm not going to get into that story again. But it's a long, beautiful story about when it became clear to me it was Archangel Michael, and he started very clearly asking me to be one of the channels for him, one of the instruments through which he would be able to speak through messages and deliver messages. And then he asked me in 2010 to start delivering some of those messages and start doing some of that outreach through creating the online community, the online social media page on Facebook called Archangel Michael and the Legion of Light. And so some of you may have actually come from that. And if you are here for the first time from there, welcome. He asked me to create that page, and he's continuing to guiding me on the future evolution of how he wants to evolve and take it. So So this is going to be this global transmission is going to be this transmission is a channeling basically, for lack of a better word. There's really not too many words in our language that we have. Transmission is actually the most accurate, actually, because there's energy being transmitted through me. I'm not the source of that energy. The energy is coming from Archangel Michael and it's coming through me. However, the reason why he's called it his name for it, the global transmission, is that he's not just transmitting energy through me. He's actually transmitting energy to each of you, those of you who are participating live, and he assures me that those who participate through the recording, that there's energy transmission that comes through those recordings too, right? There's light activation that he does, there's energy activation and healing that he does, and there's connection that he's making with each one of you, and there's transmission of not just the wisdom, not just the words, but the energy that's coming through. That's why transmission is actually the best word for what this really is. Um, and he assures me that that transmission is not just coming to all of us, right? Those of us who've heard of this, and those of us who are participating in this live, or have maybe had the opportunity to listen to it as a recording, but that it's actually is something he's transmitting to the whole planet. And that would be happening anyway, whether I'm doing this or not. I mean, he's assured me that, like, okay, whether you can do it or not, or whether you want to do it or not, this is going to be happening. This transmission is something he wants, so he's doing it, and that he wants us to just be participating in it and uniting our light with his light. And he calls it time. It's almost like a call I hear. Time to unite your light. Right? It's time to unite our light with each other, which is what we're going to do in the guided prayer that I'm going to be facilitating for us. And it's time for us to unite our light with Archangel Michael's light, and with the solstice light, and with the light of all the angels and higher beings that are working with us. And there's a lot. There's a lot of higher beings that are working with us right now. At the time the solstice is getting much lighter, finally starting to get lighter and lighter outside the window here. It's helping me wake up a little bit too. I'm still really kind of sleepy. So let me just share a few more things about the solstice itself. The word solstice is in ancient, I believe Latin is where it originates from, the Latin origins. It means sun stands still. And to our ancestors, right, to all of our ancestors, they would look up in the sky on this day. Wouldn't always be on the 21st. It would sometimes be on the 20th, sometimes be on the 22nd. But it's always around this time period. The exact time is different every year, but it's around this time period. And it would appear as if the sun stayed stationary in that same position that it rose in, right? The same position that it moved across the ecliptic. It stayed stationary. It still moved across the sky, but as far as like where and how and what the alignment of that, it appeared for about 3 days. And so there's a 3-day period of every solstice and every equinox. And the same is true for every full moon and every new moon, every solar eclipse and lunar eclipse, all the major things that we experience in celestial time or sacred time or natural time, whatever terminology you want to use to describe it. But it's not the man-made timekeeping system. It's the divine made. It's the divine made timekeeping system. And so for 3 days, and so we've been in the solstice period already, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And every solstice and equinox is the same, right? There's always a 3-day period. There's the going into it, there's the peak day of it, and then there's the process of starting to move out of it, right? So those three days. So we'll be experiencing it all day today, the energies of it, and we'll be experiencing the energies of it all day tomorrow. This particular solstice, there's some unique things about the winter solstice. The winter solstice is for those of us in the northern hemisphere. So it's solstice all around the world. For those in the southern hemisphere, it's actually summer solstice. But for those of us in the northern hemisphere, which is the vast majority of the population on the planet, It's the northern hemisphere. We're experiencing it as the winter solstice, the beginning of the winter season that those energies are ushering in. And at the time that it happens, which we just experienced, is when it's considered the light is reborn. And so, what does that mean? It means that it starts to move back. Literally, the sun has, and the tilt of the earth, all of that, the connection, the alignment between the sun and the earth, it moves and it shifts, right? And so the alignment with the sun and um, the Tropic of Capricorn actually is where we're at today, right? And so it'll appear to stay there, but then it's going to appear to start its more northerly track back towards aligning with the equator by the time we get to the equinox, right? So, and then by the time we get to the summer solstice, which will be approximately 6 months from now, it'll be lined up with the Tropic of Cancer, right? So for those of us in the northern hemisphere. So, yeah, this is very special. This rebirth of the light, actually, for those of us who've been experiencing the days getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter, we can relate to it that way. But it's more than just that, right? It's more than just something we can, see with our physical eyes. It's something that we feel very much in our bodies, right? We feel that decrease of the light, and it's something that's energetically impacting us on many different levels, emotionally and spiritually. So mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. And this particular one is also special, the winter solstice, because the sun is actually into an alignment, actually. The sun is in alignment with the galactic center during this time of the year, which is in a lot of indigenous traditions known as the great central sun or the great grandfather sun. The great source light, at the center of the Milky Way galaxy. It's very special, actually, that we're in a time period of our lives and with the planet where on the winter solstice this is happening. And so this alignment is not a precise one like it was in 2012, but it's still an alignment that's happening with the galactic center every winter solstice. And so it makes it special. That alignment in the ancient traditions is believed to even help our sun be recharged or help our sun experience the energy that it needs when it aligns with that galactic center that scientists call a black hole, but it's because all light is actually going into it and gravitating towards it and being literally drawn to it, right? So we see it and it appears as black that way. But the ancients saw it as a source of all light, right? A source of immense light, immense light. But there's also the fact that we are experiencing this shadow during this time period, right? The shadow of night is so long. And this particular one, we just had the new moon. We're coming out of the new moon, which was on Friday night. For those of us here in the Pacific time, it was anyway. It was on Friday night, the 19th. And this particular new moon, the new moon always travels with the sun, was the dark moon at the darkest time of the year. And so there's been immense shadow, but now it's time for that shadow to come to the light. And that actually leads to one of my questions for Archangel Michael, actually. I always put forth the questions for all of us, and that's part of the process that they gave me and they asked me to do. So I'm going to just kind of do it as I go along here. One of my questions has to do with the collective karmic shadow that Archangel Michael has spoken of on previous winter solstices. Has spoken basically of us kind of moving in and out of intense periods of. We've been in intense periods of it and then kind of come out of it, and not that we've been. I don't feel like he's ever indicated that we've been 100% complete with it. And I think he's began. I'd have to go back and look at the podcast to be sure, but I think he began talking about this uh, a few years ago, actually. But he'll again, it's more like we're kind of ebbing and flowing, like the seasons are with it. But it's some bigger cycle that's impacting not just the earth but humanity actually. That's part of an even bigger cycle that he refers to as the quickening, that he refers to as the great shift of the ages, that I've been channeling about since 1987, and since the early 1990s, since when Archangel Michael started asking me to be an instrument and a channel for him. And then there was like a lot leading up to 2012. And after 2012, there's been a lot since then, as to this great shift of the ages that we are all here living and that we're a part of, and that we are co creating actually with each other. So I would just like to ask him if there's anything further he wanted to say in regards to any of the things that I just spoke about. If he wants to say anything further about the quickening, which he refers to as just there's just so much energy and it's moving so quickly and so rapidly and so much change and transformation. And it's going to be continue to accelerate. There's been kind of some indication there's no end in sight, so to speak, so that for that. But I'm always asking, is there any changes in that? Is there any transformations? Is there any way for us to align with that? Because I do know that it's a very difficult time of the year. We put the holidays here during this time period in our man-made calendar systems, with the exception of some of the holidays that follow lunar calendars. Those are holidays that fall into this time period because of other reasons. But there's been a lot of other things that have been into this man-made calendar system because of this rebirth of the light, because of this time for us to like focus on renewal, because there's like almost like a cosmic clock that, so to speak, begins a new cycle of time. So what does he want us to know about this, right? And how do we align during this time where it's usually difficult, and not just because of the holidays, it's difficult because of the longer, darker days, because of some of the heaviness sometimes of that shadow energy. And I feel like particularly the shadow energy has been very heavy this year. In fact, on the starting for the new moon, Archangel Michael has been a personal message that he's been giving me. It's just generate as much light as possible. Like focus on the light, shine the light, shine a light like a beacon, but also shining a light on things, right? Like to illuminate something and shine a light on something, something that needs to be seen or something that needs to be brought to the light, right? So he has me doing a lot of that. And basically just really like generating light, being in the core of my consciousness, in the core of my being, and an anchor for light. And I would like him to explain some of that. That's actually some of my questions too. Is are we still, I'm sure we're still going through the quickening and the great shift of the ages, but are we, going through into a new phase now? If so, what is that stage? And then how do we navigate it? And how do we stay in the light? And what does it mean to do that, right? So many times the light is being used as a reference, right? And that we are light, and that we are beings of light, and that they're beings of light. And one of my questions has been like, can you tell us more about how to do the light work that we're all here to do, and to be the beacons of light that we really are? How to hold the light when there's so much that wants us to hold, that's there to cause us to hold fear instead, or hold worry or anxiety instead. So those are some of my questions. And then another question has to do with the virtues. You'll find in the Celestial Voice podcast many, many messages in which Archangel Michael has been talking about a series of teachings that he's been giving over years now on the topic of the virtues. And he says there's 44, and he's spoken about many of those 44, but still not all of them. So always inviting him to talk about if there's any new one that he wants to reveal or discuss, or that we need to be working with right now, or just any of the teachings that he wants to give on that topic. But then on the topic of the virtues, it's been coming up through questions that I've received via email and things along that line about grace. And I find it very interesting. So interesting. I said, you know what, I'm going to ask. Let's just ask, because I also personally feel a little bit unclear as to whether grace, in the way that Archangel Michael talks about the virtues, which is very unique, by the way. Of course, some people would say, well, of course, grace is a virtue. Well, he has a very unique way of describing what the virtues are, and his definition of them is energies of the divine that we are meant to, that are everywhere, all around us and within us, that we are here to use to co-create with. So of course, it seems like, oh, of course, grace will be one of those. But it's also spoken of grace as if it's not, as if it's some other special energy or quality of the divine, and not necessarily one of those ones that is, anyway, it's just a little bit unclear in the teachings that he's given, especially during the global transmissions. And so I would like, if he could, to speak about grace. What is it? What does it mean? Is it a virtue? Is it not a virtue? If it is a virtue, how are we meant to use it? If it's not a virtue, how are we meant to experience it? Can we experience more of it, and how can we attract more of it maybe into our lives, right? Yeah, so just anything along that line on that topic would be wonderful. It's such a beautiful topic anyway, and every time I've ever heard him speak about it, it's been quite fantastic. And then anything that he feels is a practice for us, going ahead into this next year. Today is the solar new year, right? The sun's completed its major cycle for those of us in the northern hemisphere, and it's the return of the light is considered to be like a solar return, or solar new year. The man-made calendar system, New Year, is still coming up, and we have a whole new year ahead of us, whether we're following the solar new year or whether we're following the man-made calendar. And so anything for this year, for the year in our calendar system, we call it 2026 coming up, right? So anything that he wants us to be aware of, anything that he wants us to do, any spiritual practices. There have been so many times over the years that he's given really extremely helpful spiritual practices, ones that can be good at any time, and then ones that can be good to kind of help us specifically through a specific time period. So I'm just wondering if there's anything for this specific time period, or just again that he wants to bring us back to and to focus. So those are my questions. There's a process that they gave me to help me develop it to the point where it's at now. And the process was to never approach without questions. So that's why I always put them out first and go over them first. And then after asking the questions, to guide everybody through, really it's an invocation, but it's actually even more than that. It's an invocation. It's a prayer of gratitude. It's praise in the sense of it's a connection, like a heart connection through love. The praise is like a heart connection through love with the divine, and it's also an opportunity to just allow ourselves to open to receive the divine energy, the angelic energy, and be able to kind of experience that for ourselves. So there's four parts of it done in 5 steps, basically. Now that I'm finished with the questions, I can't think of any other questions. I'm sitting here going, is there something else that I was going to ask? I can't think of any other questions to ask. And I don't open it up to questions from through the chat or anything like that. I just feel that it's easier to kind of just keep it focused. Yeah, so I don't think of anything else, but he could go in a completely different direction. And like I'm hearing it at the same time that you're hearing it. I'm going into a very deep meditative trance state after I guide us through this next part, right? So after I guide us through this process, I'm going to go into a very deep meditative trance state, and the vocal part of the transmission will come through me, and I'm hearing it at the same time that you're hearing it. And I'm actually even watching and feeling and listening, even though it feels like my energy is expanded out here. There's a whole multi-sensory experience that I also get. So whenever he is finished speaking, the auditory portion of it, I will share with you, I will attempt to, because sometimes I'm speechless, but I will share with you anything that I saw, heard, or felt, or that went maybe even in addition to the message at the end. In the third part of our session, which is right after he's finished speaking, and it's the shortest part, and it'll be me sharing this, and then also an opportunity for all of you to get onto the chat then and to say hello and to say goodbye or to say happy solstice or Merry Christmas or Happy New Year, whatever you'd like to say. Any comments that you'd like to make. Also questions at that time period, like if you have any questions about anything that comes through. All right, so I think I'm ready to begin to take us through there. Let me just get a sip of water here. Okay, let's get ourselves comfortable. Move this a little bit closer to me because sometimes the voice does get soft. Okay. All right. So for the praise, the chant is what we're going to use. That's a Hebrew chant that Archangel Michael, actually not just Archangel Michael, the angels, all of my angels gave me this. It wasn't one specifically. My angels gave me this years ago and said if I use this process, it would always work to facilitate this communication. And so I always follow the process until they tell me otherwise. And the first part is praising and then asking and then thanking and then receiving. So praising, asking, thanking, receiving. And the praise chant is very specific. Adonai Elohim is the kind of the core of it, the essence of it. But we're going to be invoking Archangel Michael tonight. So we're also going to put in the name of Archangel Michael in the form of Michael. Michael. There's many different pronunciations throughout the world of Archangel Michael's name. El is an ancient Hebrew name for God, for the divine, and he who is like unto God is Archangel Michael's name. And so this pronunciation, Michael, 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 will be the first part of the chant, and then Adonai Elohim, which is the heart of it, so to speak. And then Elohim, also, all of these names are names that include names of the divine, right, including Michael's name. And Elohim, the angels have told me, is representing like all of them, even, right? Like they're part of the divine energy that's kind of everywhere and in all things. The Elohim represents, and so they're a part of the Elohim. And so the Adonai Elohim also includes them, and includes all of the divine everywhere, the divine present everywhere. And then Adonai Eloheinu, and then Michael, Michael, Michael. So that's the praise chant they're going to use. And I'll just start singing it, and we'll just do it over and over again several times until I feel a very strong, it's like as if, I start to feel my energy expanding out and his energy starting to come in. I start to feel some of the energy transmission that he probably already is sending, but it starts to come in and enter into the circle of light we're going to be creating. And that we're going to be doing with the next part, right? So we are going to unite our light in the very next part when we call in the divine, and then we're going to create a circle of light with our intentions and with our prayer. No matter where we are throughout space and time, we can create a circle of light and add that light to their light, add our light to their light. And then I'll guide us through a little bit more of an invocation. And so in the steps are praising, that's the praise chant, and then asking. So there's a little bit more of the invocation, and then thanking, right? So then I'll guide us straight through after the asking into just a gratitude prayer. Again, you can say these things however you want to say them. You'll get the most out of it if you participate and not just be like an observer, right? You'll get absolutely like a much deeper experience if you allow yourself to participate. A lot of people tell me that they feel a connection with him, or they feel his presence, or that they feel that he's speaking directly to them, etc. If they allow themselves to participate, and that's what the request is. So then we'll go from the asking into the receiving, and it's in the receiving that I'm receiving, and then that the message portion of it, like the vocal portion of the transmission. But it's really during that time period. There's a lot of the streaming of the light, and I do believe because we're asking him to, he's increasing it definitely to us, to our circle, right, and it increases to the planet during that time period as well, because we're asking it to, right? Um, and then as soon as his message is finished, I like to throw in a little bit of gratitude at the end because I just always feel so grateful. But the process is to return back to praise again at the end. So praising, asking, thanking, receiving, and then back to praise. Think of it as like a circle. And coming back full circle just to Adonai Elohim by itself. It won't be as long as this first amount of it. It'll be a shorter amount of it, and then we can share with each other, meaning everybody can comment on the chat and make some kind of comment, and we'll be finished. All right, so we're going to sit back. We're going to make ourselves comfortable. We're going to we're going to close our eyes. We're going to begin by taking some long, slow, deep breaths in order to center ourselves. And now I'm going to guide us through the praise chant. And so I'll just begin chanting it, and you can chant it out loud. You're all muted, nobody can hear you. Or you can chant it silently in your mind. But please join in. Mikeya, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Mikael, 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 Mikael. Adonai Elohim, Adonai Elohim, Mikael, Mikael, Mikael. Mikael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Mikael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Mikael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Elohim, Mikael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Mikael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Mikael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Mikael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Mikael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Mikael, Mikael, Mikael. Deep inhale and then exhale. And taking some more long, slow, deep breaths. We're going to move now further into the invocation prayer. Please join me. Again, silently or out loud is fine. And this, all are muted. The next step, we're going to, each one of us in our own way personally, call in the presence of divine love and the presence of divine light. Ask for the presence of divine love and divine light to be with us personally and to connect us all in a circle of love and a circle of light. Asking that all of our light be united in a circle that goes beyond just this time and space where we are, but to unite all of our hearts, to unite all of our light during this time of this transmission, and for whatever way is for our highest good. And that's for the highest good of humanity and the earth at this time. And then in whatever way feels right to you, I want you to join me in now personally calling upon Archangel Michael, inviting him, asking him to come forward with even more light activation and energy for the global transmission that he's asked for and that he has told us that he's delivering. Let him know that we're uniting our light with his and with all of the angels and spiritual masters, all of the higher beings that are assisting us right now, amplifying the light. And let's ask Archangel Michael to also speak through a message for us in this transmission today. Transmit a message, ask him to hear any and all the questions that I verbalize on our behalf, and to use this as an opportunity to speak directly about any or all of these things. But also, let's give him permission to speak freely about anything that he feels is important for all of us to hear or to know right now. That again is for our highest good and for the highest good of humanity and for all. Then we're going to move from the asking into the thanking. And so we want to focus now on gratitude and really feeling gratitude, and not just in our minds and our thoughts, but in our hearts. Just really trying to feel it in our whole being. Just being grateful, right? Being grateful. And let's first feel that gratitude for Archangel Michael, for all that he is, all that he does, known and unknown to us, all that he is in our personal lives, all that he is for humanity and for the earth as the Archangel for all. And then we'll expand after we're done sending out that gratitude prayer into, again, whatever way feels right to you. They could be even affirmations or just statements of intention, or however it feels right, expanding it out to gratitude to the divine source of all that is, of all life, of all light, as Archangel Michael refers to it, as Archangel Michael refers to the divine in many, many different ways. In our personal relationship with the divine, just sending out our gratitude for all the blessings in our personal lives. That's appropriate to be thankful for right now, but also for the blessing of life itself and the blessing of being alive at this time in history, at this time on the planet where there's so much shifts and transformation, so many new and old things that are coming forward, and we need to just be grateful for the role that we're here to play, for the divine purpose and plan, whether we know what that is or not, and just express gratitude for life itself, ours and all life. Now we're going to go from the thinking into the receiving. And so for your portion of the receiving, you're asked to just relax into a quiet, meditative listening state. The angels say that if you're in that meditative listening state, that you will be able to not just receive the words, but the energy that they're transmitting. I'm going to go now into my meditative trance state. I'm going to go into the silence until the next words will be the vocal part of the transmission coming through. Peace, peace, peace. Peace be in the world. Peace be in your heart. Peace be in your minds. Peace be in your life. Peace be in your home. Grace, grace, grace. Grace be in your heart. Grace be in all that you receive. And grace be in all that you do. In all of your actions. In all of your words and deeds. May grace be ever present there. There is a saying that is being used more and more when people are speaking about grace. A saying that is becoming quite popular of giving yourself some grace. Hear those words, feel those words. When I say to you, give yourself some grace, what does that feel like? Don't think it. Don't think about what grace is. Feel it. Because your minds cannot conceive of what it really is in its totality. But you can feel it. You can feel it in your heart. You can feel it. Similar to how you feel an emotion. But it is not an emotion. You can feel the presence, the power of grace. You can feel the blessing of it. This way of feeling is not an emotion. It's your ability to feel, intuitively feel, energetically feel. Even things that your emotions can't even begin to fully emote. Because while you can emote grace in some ways by moving that energy through you, it's not the same way you experience an emotion, such as the emotion of joy or the emotion of happiness or the emotion of comfort or even the emotion that are all good and pleasing emotions. It's not experienced the same way, but you can still move it through you. And that's why you can give yourself grace. Give yourself the ability to connect with it. Give yourself, allow yourself, really, is what it truly means. Allowing yourself to let it move in you and move through you. It is difficult to describe what grace is in fullness and its totality. Because indeed, it is an aspect, a part of the divine energy, the divine being, the divine presence, the divine power that transcends and is transcendent because of that. It is difficult to describe and to explain to you, but you can feel it. And you can feel it move through you. You can feel it move in you, and when you are moving in it, allowing yourself, giving yourself grace, allowing yourself to move in the flow of divine love would be one definition and description that I would give about what it is. It goes hand in hand with divine mercy. Both are present because of love. The love that is transcendent to all other forms of love, that is unconditional and all-encompassing, and that is there always, without abandon. Love that knows no bounds, love that casts no shadows. Love that can be seen as only light. And love that can be seen only in actions where grace is reflected. Is it a virtue? The reason why that has been complex and confusing is because it's in a category of its own. Can it move through you? Is it present in you like the virtues? Yes. Yes. Is divine grace ever present? Yes. It is similar to the virtues in that way, the divine virtuous energies that are ever present. Moving, flowing. But it is also more than. There is a way in which it is even more than the virtues. But again, it is difficult to explain. Not just because of the lack of words and the language that you speak, but also because of where your minds are. What your minds are open to and able to understand and comprehend, which has grown exponentially and is still meant to grow exponentially. In fact, the expansion of your consciousness is what is quickening now. at an even more accelerated rate. And it becomes more important than ever in the coming year, the coming solar cycle of your next journey around the sun, and the one after that, and the one after that. It is always important to spiritually awaken. It is part of what all of you have come here to do, reach and achieve different levels and degrees of spiritual mastery. And the divine grace is there with you always, always, as the love that can make that possible. In the same way that I have taught about love being more than a virtue, and yet it can sometimes be used similarly as a virtue. It's a virtue and more. You can think of grace that way, but I do not want you to limit it. You cannot limit this love. You cannot limit divine love. You cannot limit divine grace. Sometimes when your minds, especially your egos, put things into categories, you can use those categories to think that you know everything there is to know and that you understand everything that there is to understand about something and just file it away. Or even think it's not important now. And your modern day tendency to just move on to what's next, 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 next. You can't move away from love. Not really. You can cloud yourselves. You can put layers and layers of shielding and even armoring in some cases around yourself. You can put layers and layers of clouds and things that create the shadow as if love does not exist or love is not there, or that you've moved away from it or turned away from it. So much so that it can even feel like that divine love has abandoned you sometimes, but it never, ever does. Like the sun on the darkest night, which is the night that you've just completed. And now the light is reborn. At the exact time of the solstice, the light is reborn, but the night leading up to that is the darkest night. When the darkest shadow and the longest shadow is there, like the sun on the darkest night, that love, that divine grace, it is ever present. It is still there. Even on the darkest night, the sun shines brightly. And it doesn't stop for a moment. There's not even an instant in which that light is not present. Even in the shadow that you experience as darkness. Grace is a way for that love to be expressed and to move, for divine love to be given and received and to move. So can you allow grace Yes. Can you generate it? Yes and no. You're not the source of it. You're not the source of divine grace. But you can allow it to move through you, create through you. In a similar way as to the virtues, yes. In a similar way that love is a virtue. You can think of it, but I do not limit it. As powerful as the virtues are, and I'm not limiting them either. By what I'm saying, I'm just saying they're one, but they're not the same. Think of it that way. Think of it that way. Like love is one, but it's not the same as all of the other virtues. Grace is part of divine beauty, divine love. Divine power. A force of grace. A divine force. So when you say, give yourself some grace, or give someone grace, or show someone grace, what is it that's actually to come through? Allow yourself a moment of unconditional love. Allow yourself a moment or more, or more, or more for the effortless flow of that love to just be. And to move in grace is to move in and with that energy, that divine love expressing itself. Is it the same as gracefulness or graciousness? Not the way that I am defining it, no. However, when you are being graceful and when you are being gracious, there is a way that it is flowing in you and flowing through you. And those are things that you can do to increase the flow of that divine energy in your life. Be more graceful. Be more gracious. And these energies are very much needed in the world right now. You all feel the power of when you are more grateful. When gratitude moves in you and through you and is in your being. It is even more powerful for lack of a better way of being able to describe it, and since you all have a desire for quantification and for things to be quantified, to move with grace, act more graceful and graciously in your lives toward yourselves, towards each other, towards all people, all. For you are all one part of one family of light, one family of love, one family of humankind, one family of souls on the largest level that are all loved, all unconditionally. You are not the same. No one and nothing is the same. But you are all one. You always have been. You always will be. One in the heart of God. As an act of grace, that love is there. And it moves. Through you all. For you all. It is amazing how many times you exclude yourselves, however. How hard you all are on not just each other, but the vast majority of how hard you are on each other. Hard and harsh that you can be with each other. The vast majority of it stems from how hard and harsh you are with yourselves. Allow yourself some grace. To feel that flow and that movement of that unconditional love that you are worthy of, that you are deserving of. You'll know when you feel it. You won't be being harsh or critical with yourself. You won't be punishing yourself or striving for the impossibility of perfection that is not what you are here to be or to experience. When you allow divine grace to move in your life, to move through your mind, to move through your heart, to move through your actions, you're allowing divine love to move and flow in unconditional, unlimited ways. You're allowing yourself to be in that. Is it virtuous? Yes. And more. And more. It is virtuous. But it's also transcendent. And some of the qualities of the divine, some of the aspects of the divine that is not normal conversation, the very elevated levels of conversation. And you're all going to need it. More and more in your lives. This year, coming up, that begins the new solar year and the solar cycle now. And the next, and the next, and the next. Many people make the mistake of thinking that being more graceful means just being more precise or poised. There is some of that. As grace fills you and moves through you, works through you, serves through you. It's a way that the divine moves through you, works through you, serves through you, but is ever present. It doesn't mean just being soft. It doesn't mean just being gentle, although if that is what is needed when grace is moving and grace is flowing and grace is brought in, then absolutely it will be experienced that way. It is the power of love. An expression of the power of love. A movement of the power and force of love. A way that it can move and flow and be expressed and fill the consciousness, enliven the consciousness, enlighten your consciousness. An energy, a presence of the divine. That can be in your every step, in your every word, in your every action, in your every thought, and in your every deed. Allow yourself that. Allow others that. Don't withhold it from anyone. First and foremost, that's not your role. You truly can't fully do so anyway. But an enormous amount of energy can sometimes be exuded in effort to. Why? Ask yourselves why. Ask yourselves why. Why would anyone, consciously or unconsciously, because many times it is unconscious, exert a great deal of energy to limit themselves or others from this infinite divine grace, this immense love in its expression of grace? Why withhold yourself or withhold anyone? I encourage you all to actually not just ask yourselves this right now, but meditate on this periodically, especially when you find yourselves doing it. Especially when you find yourselves doing it. And whatever answer you come to as to what your why might be, know that the moment you become aware of it, you are already allowing grace to flow in. Know that even by asking yourself why you might be blocking it in any way or pushing it away in any way, but even just the thought or attempt to ask the question or seek the answer, you've already begun to allow grace to flow. Grace does not mean, and the flow, being in the flow of grace does not mean that everything goes the way that you want it to go. It does not mean that everything follows your agenda or your plan. There is a divine plan. There is a divine will, always at work, always at play, a higher order, a higher will that grace will always move you in alignment with. And I remind you all of that at this time in your world right now, at this time where there's so much unrest, there's so much divisiveness, so much anger, so much fear, so many of the emotions that I spoke of earlier this year through this channel in the series of global transmissions that I requested to give. When some of those emotions are some of the strongest they have ever been, because there's more people on the planet right now than there has ever been. You need this grace now. There's a reason why it has been coming up in conversation, and there's a reason why it is being asked today. There's a reason why I have chosen to wait to speak about it to this length and in this amount of detail. Because now it is needed more than ever. And there is a higher plan. There are many of you who think you know what it is. I can tell you, as the leader of the archangels, that not even I know the divine will in its entirety. But I know divine mercy, and I know divine grace, and I know divine love, and trust in it fully. Allow it to move through me, to do all that I do, and to be all who I am. And while we are not the same, you and I, there is an angelic part of your nature. There is the higher part of your soul's nature that knows and can do all that I am describing to you. And when that divine love and grace and mercy moves and flows, the higher will be done. It will not just be something that just serves one person or one group or one society or one nation. It's not exclusive. It's all encompassing. Love, all encompassing. Love moving as grace, moving, acting as grace and mercy. For all. So allowing it to move in you, allowing yourself to receive it, to move in with all that you're doing and all of the actions and choices and things that you're making, to move with it. Allow it to flow and move with it. You're all playing your individual roles, your individual part in everything that you're co-creating in this world. The more that in your heart and your mind you align your free will with that higher will, grace will move and flow even more. Divine mercy will move and flow even more. And what you co-create, it will. And all of the things that you co-create, they will add to the energy of the totality of what you are bringing forth. especially if you do it with love. And you move with grace. And this does not mean being extremely feminine either. Does the movement or the flow of grace feel feminine sometimes? The answer is yes. Yes. You can think of it as there being qualities of that, especially when you think of terms of being graceful or gracious. In energy, in the way that energy flows, feminine, yes. But that doesn't mean that is only for women and not for men. No. I'm not speaking of men and women here. I'm speaking of energies that are in the divine, that are of the divine, that are from the divine. I'm speaking of an energy of love that's all encompassing. Think about that word, all encompassing. Another word you have for it, omnipresent. Omnipotent, all powerful, all present. Not just in one species, not just in one gender, all present, all encompassing. The ego likes to be in control. And when it is allowing grace to move and flow, you're giving it something to focus on that actually is one of the best uses of it. Giving it something to focus on that is putting it back into alignment with its proper role within the whole. Just as it is important to keep your minds focused. As this time period that I have referred to in previous messages as a karmic inflection point for humanity, it is not completed. This time period of a karmic return, a shadow karmic return, where things are collectively being brought out of your shadow, each other's shadow, your collective shadow, it is not completed. It is not over. But yes, it is cyclical. As this channel has begun to realize, a new cycle begins, and each cycle is different. And you can't compare them, one cycle to the next. But you do need to stay in the light. Even when speaking about some of the most darkest aspects of the shadow. Even when facing it in yourselves or in each other, or in your collective co-creations. Open your minds. Open your hearts to grace moving in you and through you, allowing it to be a source of love, a source of light. That doesn't mean that you have to stop doing anything, unless that is what is intuitively coming to you. It doesn't mean that you turn away or turn a blind eye to that which is coming up and out, for the shadow must come to the light and return to the light. All things are of the light, in the light, and return to the light. An inflection point is a point where many things are coming together from all sorts of directions and from multiple timelines, past, present, future. An inflection point is where you are all. You can't remove yourself from it. You can't hide from it. You can't run from it. You can't ignore it. It is better and best to choose to be aware, to choose to be conscious, to choose to be an instrument, to choose to fulfill your destiny and use your gifts, as I have been saying throughout many of my messages, through this channel and more. And today I add to do all of that through the help, the support, with the love and the power of divine grace. And it will become more and more obvious where grace is flowing and where it is not. Does it always mean being nice? No. That's something that is a human concept. Kind? Yes. The kindness is not the same as the human concept of what you currently define now as nice. There are many things that people do just to be nice. And many things that people say, whether they mean them or not, and a lot of times they're not even meant, just to be nice. It is far better to be truthful and kind, to be graciously kind and honest and truthful than it is to be quote unquote nice. In what nice has become, in what nice has evolved to. Niceties that can actually be used to spiritual bypass. Spiritual bypassing is a very real thing. It happens every day, all over the world, in every religion, in every spiritual culture. People use spiritual principles to bypass over, or they use spiritual words or ideology to bypass over the true spiritual work or the true spiritual revelation, or co-creation. For far too long now, it has evolved and evolved and evolved where there are so many niceties that are used to spiritually bypass. Use the virtues instead. Being nice is not a virtue. Nice is not a virtue. Kindness is a virtue. A very important virtue. Be kind. The truth is also a virtue. Be kind and truthful. Love is also a force beyond as grace is. Be loving. Be kind. Be truthful. I will call graciousness a virtue. To help you to understand, I will use the word grace as its source, as a quality of the divine. But when it's moving through you and when you can consciously align with it, and the way you can consciously tune into it through graciousness. Be gracious. Be generous. Use the virtues to co-create. That is what you are meant to do. That is what you are meant to do. But you are not meant to use niceties to stop yourself or spiritual bypass over what you are meant to do. It's like you're learning to be in whole new ways. You're learning to be the co-creators that you are. Awakening to that in yourself and with each other. How to really co-create with each other in this world. Especially at a time where there are so many control dramas. Believe it or not, the control dramas that are playing themselves out, many of them are being helped by some of the spiritual bypassing that I'm describing, that I'm referring to as using niceties. It is far better to be kind, gracious, loving, truthful, and all of the other virtues. In all that you do, and why you're doing it, and how you're doing it. and learning how to speak and communicate with each other in whole new ways. And note that none of those virtues ever refer to meanness or being mean. If you're being kind and gracious, you're not being mean, and you can speak the truth, live the truth, do your truth, fulfill what is your truth, and act and do what you need to do for yourselves, for your families, for your communities, for the world. Without ever being mean about it. You can talk about some of the most difficult subjects that there is to talk about. The things that make you feel most vulnerable in your relationships with each other. The things that are most divisive in your relationships with each other. And you can communicate about those things through using the virtues. Do it with grace, moving in you and moving through you. Do it with graciousness and kindness. Do it with love, compassion. Stand in their light. Stand in that power that those virtues are. And communicate whatever needs to be communicated. Sometimes being a light worker does mean shining a light onto something that needs to be seen. How you all do that is unique unto your own individual paths. But don't shy away from doing it. You are all beings of light. You have the same source of light. The same source. You are not the same, but you are all one with that same source. You are individual yet indivisible through that one source of all that is. You always have been and you always will be. And you need to learn to communicate better with each other. Some of the themes of 2026 and 2027 and beyond come from the root word commune. You need to learn to commune with divine grace the way that I have spoken of. Communicate more clearly in your personal lives and your interactions with each other. Be able to communicate not only more clearly, but also about more things in this virtuous way that I have been describing. Be able to communicate ultimately about anything and everything. Especially leading up to 2030. I have been speaking through this channel for many years. At the time period of 2012, when a major shift took place in the great shift of the ages. I said then what I will also say now. There would be major shifts taking place in 2016, 2020, and 2030. as big as these shifts all feel to you now, 2030 will be an even bigger shift. Don't concern yourselves by preoccupying your minds with theories of what that could be and what that could look like. Stay focused on co-creating what you want it to be and what you want it to look like from a virtuous place, being an instrument for divine grace, for divine love, to co-create it through. But those bigger shifts that are coming even beyond 26 and 2027 require you to be able to commune more, communicate about just about everything and anything virtuously. If it's done virtuously, you can make progress. And then there's the other word, community. These are key words for the rest of this decade. They've always been important in society. They've always been important in the co-creation of societies and cultures. They will always be. And then there's consciousness. Accelerating the advancement of your consciousness. But you cannot skip over the spiritual work of doing that. The quickening is already accelerating this in a natural way. What I've referred to as the quickening and spoken of as the quickening in many of my messages through this channel. There is already a natural flow of divine love, of divine grace, of divine will, and an energy that is moving through not just planet Earth, not just the third dimension, expanding at accelerated rates, quickening at accelerated rates in that expansion. For all of you, there are those that are trying to resist it. There are those who are trying to control it. There are those who think that they can control it. It's like a giant wave, I have referred to it as, that lifts all who align with it, especially. Keep aligning ourselves the way I've described, aligning ourselves through the virtues. Being virtuous and building community in your communications and in your communion, all of it awakens your consciousness. There's abilities in your consciousness that you have not used, that still lie completely dormant within you. Can you falsely awaken them? No. Can you push to awaken them without being ready? No. Are they being protected until you all are ready? Yes. Yes. Then more and more, that readiness is coming. In time, I will speak more about them. And the last thing that I will say is, in the meantime, there's so much that you do know of that spiritual wisdom and spiritual teachings do reveal to you for you to keep working to master. You're all here as co-creators to co-create. And you can create and co-create a love-based life, a love-based culture, a love-based world. Mastery is another key word. Another topic for another day. I do wish to speak more about them. The ways of mastery. The path of mastery. And the process. But all of it is possible. And none of it would be possible without divine grace. That's the end of the message. Let's just take a moment to say a silent prayer of thankfulness and appreciation for the message, for the Archangel Michael. And we're going to bring it back to the praise, and for the closing praise chant, which is Adonai Elohim just by itself. Adonai Elohim, Adonai Elohim. Adonai Elohim, Adonai Elohim. Adonai Elohim, Adonai Elohim. That's the end of the message. I'm going to just fully bring ourselves up out of the meditation, coming back into opening our eyes. But I'm going to keep my eyes open just for a few more minutes more, just while I can explain this, because it helps me to bring it through. First of all, one of the things that I experienced is this lightness. I'd say for the last, I don't know, several days, the energy fields have been feeling very heavy and very dense, not just the darkness of the shadow of the night, but and just very heavy, very dense energies in the energy fields. And I just feel everything lifted. Like there's so much more light streaming and moving right now. So definitely in me, but I feel it also around me, and it just feels like sometimes there's times in these messages where I feel like something shifts and like a momentum, kind of like how you see like an energetic momentum shift. I felt a shift like that in this message, and it was through divine grace. It was as he was talking about divine grace, I felt this just flow of divine grace just move like he was talking about, just just move through the planet. So it was a beautiful thing, and like you said, there's no accident, I guess, that this has come up now and that these questions are being asked, and that even I'm like, seeking to really understand this, uh, very complex thing that sounds like it is for him to even be able to describe. Archangel Michael's been able to describe things that just mind blowing ways that I would never even begin to think of. And I learned so much from these messages myself. That's another reason why I know like it's coming through me, because I'm learning and witnessing, experiencing so much of what's being said. And so I'm feeling lifted by that. I'm feeling in awe, like I almost always feel in awe after these messages. It's just in awe is the best word I can think of everything that, not just that he said, but of everything that I feel moving and shifting, and of the light that is flowing at this moment, and the love and the grace that he's talking about. So just kind of in awe of all of that. When he spoke about um, the things that are coming in the future, um, I feel like there's a large amount of me and other people that like we have maybe some trepidation, maybe some obviously excitement for the future, but also some, just question like, what is it going to be? And kind of like we want to know. And it's like we're going to know when we need what we need to know when we need to know it. That was kind of a confirmation that I felt about that. When he was talking about other abilities we don't even know about, I first was thinking about like telepathy and telekinesis, and then I was like, oh, wait a minute, we know about those. So it was like, he's talking about things that like we don't even talk about. Like we'll talk about some of those things, like the spiritual senses for sure, and all the things possible. The spiritual senses, that's the stuff that we can focus on, the things that we do know about. And then they've revealed to me that like after we master more of the spiritual senses, then we can master more some of these other higher capacities and capabilities of our consciousness. And then they've mentioned things along the lines of telekinesis, telepathy, etc. with that. But what he's referring to today was in a whole other category that we just don't even talk about. So that was really intriguing to me. And I felt like it just like all of the confluence, there's like this confluence when you talked about the inflection point, there's like a confluence of all these things that we're creating, collectively co-creating, and then that this divine grace and this divine mercy and this divine will is also coming through and moving and manifesting, right? And the confluence of that is definitely like taking us into a different state of consciousness and a higher state of consciousness. But I felt like we're in this kind of like very difficult stage right now where we're not there, but we're not where we were. Like this, we've been in this kind of difficult place of the in between. The Vesca Pisces is one of the symbols that has appeared and is appearing to me as I'm even speaking about it, where like one old cycle is ending, a new cycle is beginning, and there's the place where they intersect, and that's called the Vesca Pisces, kind of that place of the in between where they intersect. We're kind of in that. We're in that place. We're in that period still. And I don't know if we're going to be out of that period in 2030. I really don't know, but it feels like at least we're advancing, right? We're advancing, though sometimes it feels like we're going backwards, which again, the labyrinth helps me to really remember that the spiritual path and the journey of consciousness and awakening is not a straight line. It's not linear in any way. I think that's it. It's all fading very quickly, other than, I like the way that he began this message. I'll go back to the beginning and, I think it's something that we can just allow ourselves, just give ourselves some grace, like when he was talking about, like when we feel like we need it, right? Just allow ourselves that. And I like how he put graciousness in. So for those of you who have been following my work for a while and have been in many of these transmissions, I've been making a list of virtues. And so he's saying it's like love, it's so much more than just a virtue. It's like there's a whole other category that it's in. But he put graciousness in that, the way that we can use it as a virtue, the way it's there present for us as a virtue. So I thought that was very, very good, very helpful. All right. And eventually I will be able to publish all this material on the virtues. So, all right. I think I'm complete. Feels good to me. I feel so much lighter, and it's gotten so much lighter out too. So now everybody can use the chat to make comments, to ask questions. I'll go to the chat now. And if you just want to say hi, if you want to say goodbye, if you want to just say happy solstice or happy new year or merry Christmas, whatever you want to say. Let's see, going back, I'm going to the top here. I've seen myself in different light. Thanks to Archangel Michael. Happy holidays on. Thank you. Thank you, Irene. Appreciate that. Amy, Michael speaks of truth, but those inflicting harm believe that is truth according to man-made scriptures. Am I to send? Am I to send? Maybe to send is written twice there. Love and grace to those who don't want it. I'm not quite sure what you're asking there, but I think he's even saying, if someone's inflicting harm, to call that out, like call out that harm is being, like that would be a way of like shine a light on that, right? Like, use the truth to call that out, but to do it in a way that's not mean or nasty or spiteful or vengeful or any of those things, to do it with grace, to let that grace kind of graciousness, like in fact that's the reason why to do it. Right? I think that's more what he's saying. He's not saying let it happen. He's not saying, give them the grace to keep doing it or any of those things, especially not when it comes to those who are doing hurt and harm. All right. So thank you, Archangel Michael. So thank you for asking that question, Amy. And if I'm not understanding the question correctly, then please ask more. Let's see then, Brenda. Thank you, Archangel Michael, for your blessings today and blessings. Yes. Let me just real quickly. It's going to get a long list here. Probably before. Let me just real quickly before I go any further. I'm going to end the recording just for the sake of keeping it short for everybody. Let me just try to find where that button is. Oh, there it is up there. Okay.